Welcome to Growing Younger Health and Fitness podcast designed for people over 40.
Hello guys, how are you doing? We're back today with our weekly podcast. So today's podcast really is going to be about, like, Alex has got a lot of experience in being a physio, and obviously he's helped like thousands of people recover from injuries and bits and bobs. So one of the questions that we know we get a lot of is, how can I prevent age-related joint stiffness and maintain flexibility after 40? So this is Alex. He's going to answer that question for us as best he can.
Hello, guys, and hi, Gavin. I think to answer that question, first of all, we need to define what actually stiffness means, because in my experience, different people can actually mean different things by saying my joint is stiff. So it's medically, stiffness means that there's a restriction of movement. There's like you just can't, like, say if it's a knee, you can't bend it properly, you may not be able to straighten it properly. So that's generally what stiffness is. However, some people mean stiffness like that they might think about like a pain or an ache in the joint. So we'll talk about the restriction of movement. Like you might be having difficulty bending or straightening the joint, whatever it is, the knee, the shoulder. So generally speaking, in the vast majority of cases, when you're starting to lose mobility in the joints, flexibility, one of the primary causes is basically wear and tear. Okay, so arthritis. Okay, arthritis is a fancy term for wear and tear. Okay, so what happens with arthritis is that your cartilage in the joint, or basically your lubricant in the joint, starts to wear out. So instead of each of the bony surface on the joint being nice and smooth, now you're starting to get like rough bits sticking out, and you've got basically sandpaper against sandpaper. So as you can imagine, if the joint can't move properly, it doesn't glide, it starts to catch, it starts to get stiff. And so once it gets to a reasonably advanced stages, people start to have real difficulty bending and straightening their joints, whatever it is. It's usually knees, hips, and lower back that get affected the earliest, because those are the weight-bearing joints. Now, to answer your question, how can you prevent it? Okay, so some of the effects of arthritis is purely genetic. So there's a certain component that's you're just born this way, and if your mom and dad had arthritis, unfortunately, you have a higher likelihood of getting arthritis as well. Now, the second part is purely lifestyle. Okay, so and one of those lifestyle factors is how well you look after yourself, and if you have adequate muscle strength. And as you may know, pretty much past the age of 30, 35, we start to lose muscle mass pretty much every single year. So if you compound that effect of muscle weakening as we get older, plus the increased wear and tear, you can see kind of how that can be quite detrimental. So prevention, I think you should be focusing on conditioning your muscles. So essentially strengthening, and I think it comes down to resistance training. So lifting certain weights. I think a lot of people kind of overlook that part when it comes to training, particularly over 40. So a lot of people do their cardio workouts, which is walking, swimming, cycling, whatever it is, which is great, but also you need that strengthening component as well. So that will be one thing. I mean, the second way to address the stiffness in your joints would be just to do regular stretching. So stretching can be just self-administered. So you could just, do stretches. You can look them up online, or you can ask your personal trainer to give you some, or you could join a yoga class. I mean, yoga class is a good way of bringing some structure to it and doing it regularly, possibly with a group of people. So that hopefully that kind of answers that question.
So there's another question really extending on that. So you mentioned like strengthening and stretching. So if you have to choose one, what would be the best one to go? Or is it like saying, is it better to eat or is it better to drink? They're both very separate. You've got to do them both. What would you say?
Well, you definitely need to do them both. They don't, they complement each other. They don't exclude each other. Look, it depends on your individual situation. I would say if we're talking about arthritis, strengthening certainly has a very big role to play. Look, it's hard to answer that question. You need both. You need both, definitely, because especially if you've already lost some movement, some flexibility, you need stretching. You need what we call range of motion exercises. So basically, if you're having difficulty bending the knee, you need to try and get it to bend. Like every day, you should be doing, 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 15. You should be trying to bend the knee further and further. So you could qualify as stretching. So you definitely need that. But on top of that, you also need strengthening to condition the muscles to prevent further deterioration of your arthritis. Okay, so sorry, couldn't give you a black or white answer to that question.
That's good. No, it's good. It's like because there's I hear different things in the PT world that people will often complain about tight hip flexors, right? So
Yeah.
that's right. But then there's people out there that will say, well, they're not tight. They're not tight. They're weak. You need to strengthen the hip flexors as well. So what they're kind of saying, they're trying to do the opposite, isn't it? It's like, well, they're not done stretch them, actually strengthen them. So that's kind of where that question comes from. Where I guess if you need to do both, you need to strengthen them and you need to stretch them, and that goes for every joint in the body, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. But I mean, that's probably more of a case of like with hip flexors. A lot of people who work in the office, they get tight hip flexors just because they sit down the whole day. Okay, so that's probably more, I would say, occupation related rather than age related. But yeah, no, I think whatever your stiffness is caused by, you should be doing both the muscle conditioning, strengthening, weight training, which is why we keep telling people this is the way to go, and obviously stretching and range of motion exercises.
Good, awesome. There you go. That was awesome.
Cool. So look, and I guess that's why we do things the way we do it in Growing Younger, because as a physio, I can actually look at someone's joints and assess, exactly what the problem is and give them the program that's specifically designed, customized to their needs. And, whether you need flexibility exercises, stretching or strengthening, you get the whole package in one. So
awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. That was awesome. Thanks, Alex, for that, because I know that's a question that comes up a lot. So it's always good to pick your physio brain about this stuff. There you go.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you next week.
Catch you later. Okay, guys, so I hope you found the podcast of value. If you did and you're struggling with your own health and fitness journey, there's a link in the description for a free discovery call with me. And that free discovery call, we're going to cover off a little bit about you, your history, your goals, what you want to achieve, and maybe we can help you or not with your own health and fitness goal. So if that does sound like something that you'd like to do, then click on the link in the description, and I look forward to chatting to you in the very near future. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.